Carlson and I became friends back in high school. Fast forward to today, John's one of the hardest working people I know. He's also one of the funniest people I know. I had a blast talking with him about the car buying process and how he went from car salesman to owning his own car dealership in North Carolina. I hope you enjoy this podcast. How's it going, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Good.
Good. Probably got a bass guitar in the background there.
I got a bass and acoustic, and you can see a little electric off to the side. That's nice. Actually my beater Fender. But the funny thing is, or it's not a Fender, it's a Squire Bullet that I got for like $129 at a Guitar Center in Daytona Beach, just so I could have a guitar to bring around with me on trips. But dude, I think it might be one of my favorite playing guitars that I've ever played.
Really?
Yeah, it's. Do you remember when I used to have that old Jap Strat that your buddy Bill was saying was like the nicest playing guitar that he ever played?
Yeah.
Sadly, I lost that because I was a loser in my early 20s, and I took out a pawn loan on it. Yeah. And I never repaid the pawn loan. And now those things sell for like $1,000. And I think I got like $200 to like fund the gas for my trip down to Florida to become a pilot. And then I never kept up with like the $12 a month payments to keep the guitar.
Yeah, man. I pawned that Ibanez. Remember that Ibanez bass I had? I pawned that years ago.
Yeah. So, dude,
what's up, man?
I had to choose a category for my podcast.
Uh-oh.
And when you're listing it, they ask you to put it in a category. Is it entertainment? Is it whatever? And I called it how to. It kind of is one of the themes. If I had to pick a theme of the podcast, it's like I think that it's going to be really interesting and cool to talk to you about how to succeed in the car sales industry. People will be interested in hearing how you go from, lowly salesman in your 20s to now you're owning your own car dealership in North Carolina.
Yeah, I guess I'm succeeding. I guess you call it succeeding.
Well, you've succeeded thus far, and we'll see how it goes, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. You get that. I get that imposter syndrome a lot. I think that's a lot. If you want how to, you ever read on that imposter syndrome, any of that stuff?
I haven't just read. I've been feeling it. In fact, I would just say right now, I've just gotten over the hurdle of like no longer listening to those voices going like, why the hell are you doing this with your time? Why are you interviewing people? Why are you putting up podcasts? Like, this is so stupid. And maybe that's not the same version of imposter syndrome that you're feeling, but I just think in my real professional career, I've felt a lot too, but it goes away in time, and I'm not sure that it's maybe like fake it till you make it, but just keep on moving forward till you gain some confidence.
I think it's maybe a little different for me. And I saw some hotshot Australian internet guy talking about it. Always just feels like that Talking Head song, this isn't really me. I haven't really done this, and I don't really deserve this, and so I need to go work harder to make sure I keep it. And it's like this constant drive, constantly. And I know that I don't really think that's the case. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know mentally, but I can't logically, but I can't seem to overcome it. It's constant. So what drives me a lot, a good friend of mine, we talk about it a lot too. He has the same thing. It's just interesting. So I think a lot of that drives it, where I feel like, I guess you don't deserve this, or you haven't really earned it, even though, I've worked my ass off to do this. I spent, hours and hours working on this stuff, days and days, not hours, millions. I don't know, who knows how much. That's my wife and kids. They'll tell you all the time. So they put a lot of effort into it. It feels like, what I say, sometimes it feels like I hit the dumb kid from New Jersey lottery. I scored on that one, man. I hit it big there, because really I shouldn't. It just overachieved in life so far. For I'm really, really, really fortunate and really blessed. I mean, I've worked hard, but things have gotten my way.
Well, so I've thought a bit about this lately and just where we grew up in Bridgewater. You grew up in Bridgewater. I grew up in Branchburg, New Jersey.
A nice place to grow up.
And yeah, and there were a lot of brains that we went to school with. We grew up with a lot of kids who were children of academics, children of doctors, lawyers, and there was a lot of IQ horsepower, and you less than me, but neither one of us were committed students. and I think that there's a part of which you can feel stupid because you weren't invested in that type of education. But dude, I mean, it's maybe it's a little, you're just trying to humble yourself before the audience here, or whatever audience there may be, is calling yourself like not that smart. You're a smart guy and you're resourceful. And to quote, I think Malcolm Gladwell, in a room full of clever people, IQ doesn't matter that much, whether or not someone's here or there. What matters is philosophy, work ethic, and a couple other quantifiable things, or maybe unquantifiable things. And the thing that I think is really cool about you is, we kind of rekindled our friendship back in, I would say, around 2005, but just hearing you and being around you, you're always trying to help out younger people in your life, the younger people who are working for you, about getting their lives together and taking work seriously and kind of focusing on how to succeed. So it's like, yeah, you weren't willing to, or you weren't mentally able to, back when you were 15, pull it together like the kids who graduated in the top 10% of Immaculata. But, once you got done with being in the Marines and you had your first kid and you got a job, suddenly you figured out like, hey man, I better get serious about something with life. Is that a fair statement, characterization?
Yeah, that is. And I think, and when I say dumb, I don't mean to, I'm not saying, not saying that I think I'm dumb. I'm not trying to humble myself or anything, but I just think I just did stupid stuff. You know what I mean? I think like a lot of guys, maybe some of the guys we know, I mean, I grew up in Bridgewater and went to Immaculata High School. I had all kinds of opportunity around me that I turned my back on. Basically, I didn't want anything to do with it for whatever reason. Who knows? Quit Immaculata, dropped out of high school. Enlisted in the Marine Corps, which that was actually, even though at the time, like everybody else, I think who was in it, I was not a big fan of being in the Marine Corps, but the stuff that taught me has stuck with me forever. It's really, and I got trouble in the Marine Corps too. I got office hours. Excuse me. Brian Salili, remember Salili?
Yeah.
Was there on some kind of like, because he was at the Naval Academy and he was there in like some kind of training thing where they take the cadets out and see if they want to be Marines. I don't think he chose to be a Marine. And he sat in on one of my office hours on one of my non-judicial punishments when I was UA, and I got a fight with a sergeant, and it was just stupid stuff on my part. So, the stupid kid. So he sat in, he was one of the witnesses because he was technically a officer, I guess. I don't really know how this stuff works for cadets, but.
How did that feel? Was that kind of humiliating?
That's humbling, humiliating. You got a guy you were in high school with, used to hang out with, and you're getting busted, getting sentenced to 2 weeks. I mean, it's not a big deal. It was, I didn't lose rank or anything. I got sentenced to 2 weeks in the not sentenced, but I got 2 weeks like restricted duty. I couldn't leave the barracks. It's like a slap on the wrist, but still, it's embarrassing. You go up in front of the company commander, and there's a guy you went to high school. He's witnessing. You're getting smacked around because you decided to smart off and get punky with an NCO, which is what I did. But out of that was great lessons that I took, later in life. I mean, all that time in the Marine Corps, everything I went through, I did there. The experience there has helped me quite a bit, I would say. I got more out of it than it got out of me. That's for sure. I got much more than it got out of me. So, I mean, it's really helped helped shape my life. And you're right. I get out, you have a kid, and all of a sudden you got to be, I have a kid, and you got to be responsible, and you got to figure things out. And that still takes a while. I mean, I don't think I really started to mature and understand and appreciate things as at least a halfway respectable level until maybe 25, 26, maybe.
And so when you were 25 or 26, were you already a salesman?
Yeah, I was a salesman soon. I started selling cars in the end of 94, beginning of 95. So I was a salesman for a couple of years. I was struggling with it. Wasn't real, no one, and I tell these guys this all the time. Well, not, I do, and I will. These guys here are new, but no one grows up saying, hey, I want to go be a used car salesman. I mean, it's not like on your list of things to do when you're a kid, unless your dad's a dealer, unless your dad's a dealer, you're not saying, hey, I want to go be a car salesman. Right. So a lot of times you end up here because not a whole lot of other options. And most of the guys I've worked with end up here because not a whole lot of other options. So you got to try and find a way to make it work.
So you told me at first that you sucked as a car salesman.
I was bad for the first 3 or 4 months, getting ready to get fired.
And what changed?
Well, that time, the number one thing that changed is I stopped caring if I could sell cars or not. Because I was going to get another job and I thought I was going to get fired. So all of a sudden I just didn't give a crap. I was outside talking to people, and then it became easy. When I was all stressed out, I got to sell a car, I got to make money. When I sell shit, people don't buy from that. And when I didn't care and was happy, so I was gone. I was out of there. Then I was salesman of the month. So that's the first time I really made money. And I went through a stretch. So I stayed in it. I didn't go get another job. And I went through a stretch where I really struggled. After that, I made some good money. Then I made good money for a while, but then for a year or so, I had to finally decide that you're trying to be nice. You're trying to be the different car salesman. You're trying to be, not the cliche. And it gets down to it. The cliche stuff works. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't like it. You got some dark humor in this car. You get some dark humor in the car business. So a lot of what I think is funny, no one else would think is funny, except the guys out here selling cars with me. But because it gets a little different. But that stuff works. High pressure stuff. People start buying cars, and you either learn or you starve, right? And there's not a whole lot of other stuff. You got kids, you got people you got to support, and you're trying to be different. So you kind of just got to say fuck it and just.
So, how long were you just a salesman for approximately before you moved up to sales manager?
3 years, maybe. 98, 99. I went back to school, right? So I finished, I got a GED, then I got a high school diploma, then I decided to go to college. So I enrolled in a community college in California because that's like free, pretty much. And I was just working weekends. So I had gotten it down enough where I could sell cars Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday through Thursday, go to school, and I could support my family. I could do a pretty good job and taking care of everything, but I kept turning down. So I was going to school and I had this big old long plan. I was going to transfer you got the transfer programs, all that. My goal was to get an engineering degree. So I was working on that at the community college. I went there for a couple of years to then transfer to UCSD, which I had the grades to do it. And when you graduated, the thing is you're going to make $60,000 a year, right? That's what they said. The expected income of this engineer when he graduated is to make $60,000 a year. Well, I kept turning down $120,000 a year jobs. I turned them down like 3 times.
As sales manager?
As an assistant sales manager. Those guys were making 10 grand a month. Those guys were making 10 grand a month, 120 a year. And I kept saying, no, I'm going to school. Right. So then I keep thinking about it. I go, so I'm turning down $120,000 a year job. So I can go spend 4 more years in school, 3 more, however long it was going to take. It was probably a 5-year degree, 2 years, whatever. And make half. I mean, what am I doing? Why, what's my problem with this business? Why don't I want to do this? I mean, there's nothing wrong with selling cars. It's not a bad business if you should get over the stigma. So
the world needs new cars.
Needs new and high quality pre-owned vehicles. Yes, we're here to help with that. We're at Red Springs, North Carolina. If anyone wants to come down here, everybody watching, we'll get you a great deal on a quality pre-owned vehicle.
Carlson Chevrolet, right?
Carlson Chevrolet. Yeah, there it is. So finally actually then they didn't offer me the job. I decided I wanted a job, and Pat Hickey, I'll never forget it. He's GM. He's a maniac. He's got one of the largest Ford stores in the country now in Arizona. Um, flip the coin in the air with me and another guy. Heads, John, you're the closer, you're the assistant manager. Tails, I forget the other guy's name, you're the assistant manager. So he goes, well, I guess it's you. We got nobody else, so you're going to get a shot. It was, it was the words of encouragement.
Okay, so that was the first level up, right? The first level above salesman.
Yeah,
okay, so the closer do?
Closers, closers.
Yeah, okay, but like, what are your responsibilities aside from closing deals? Was it just that you're the guy who closes a deal, or were you given responsibility over salesmen?
That's I had 5 salespeople, and that's why I like to say assistant sales manager. And when I have closers now, assistant sales managers, I call them assistant sales managers, because closers, the old school closers, the guy who sat in the office in the back, like reading a newspaper, drinking coffee, and they'd call him up, hey John, go bump this customer. We need $50 more a month. Go get it, right? He'd go out. Those guys. I mean, that's kind of dumb. It's the thing of the past. What they do now, really, what you need to do is you need to have guys underneath you, train them and hire them. You got to go out and hire people, find them, recruit people everywhere you go, trying to bring them in and then teach them to be salespeople. And eventually they're doing your job for you. Fortunately, closers, assistant managers only get paid just the way it works on how they close the deal and what they close the deal for. But that's not really their job. If they've done a good job training their salespeople set it up for them, the job's easy. So really their job is finding kids, finding people to come work for you, train them and get them to work for you.
So if you've got a well-trained sales force, are you saying that the customer then doesn't have to deal with that BS of, hey, let me take it back to my guy in the back right there, and we'll see how the...
You still got to deal with that. We're still doing that. We're just better at it. It's just not as hard, and the customer enjoys it more, right? The customer doesn't feel like it's torture. If you're well trained, you're still doing that, but the customer's enjoying the process. They're having fun with it. If you're not well trained and things aren't going smooth, the customer hates it and they hate you. You know what I mean? So there's a difference. I'm sure you've been in maybe you've been in car experiences that you hated, and maybe you've been in car experiences that you thought were great. I would say that your perception of both situations are different, but probably most of the steps are the same. Most of the stuff they put you through was the same. It's just, if you do a good job at it, it's not really torture.
See, I used to absolutely abhor the car buying process until we reconnected and rekindled our friendship. And now I think it's fun because you arm me with the local market. Like, okay, here's likely what they bought it for, and here would be a reasonable price for you to go buy this, used car for. And so it's like, look, I got to get a good deal, but the dealer's got to make a little money off of it. And so, provided that, like, I don't think I've got to get the best deal. I just got to not be affronted by the deal that they want me to give. And it's made car buying for me fun since I've been talking with you. But do you think that, do you have any advice for the public out there listening right now, who is maybe even going to buy a car from Big John at Carlson Chevrolet in what is it, Red Hill, North Carolina?
Red Springs,
North Carolina.
Yeah.
How should they arm themselves with knowledge before the car buying process? Or do you not want me to go here? Because I can delete this out.
No, that's fine. I don't mind. I mean, there's no magic secret to it. The best thing you can do is just know what the market is looking for. Markets control it more than anything else. People, some people want to fight. They get mad, man. They get mad at, I don't want you to make any money on me, or, it's like this competition. The reality is that most people in the United States are very poor negotiators. We don't negotiate anything. We go to the grocery store, and if it's on sale, like, we look for the sale price or the non-sale price, right? Maybe we look for the coupons or stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not like we grow up negotiating everything like they do most of the world, right? Where you go and you haggle over everything everywhere. Yeah. Right. It's why like salespeople, you get people from like Asians or Middle Easterners. They're tough to deal with. They're hard because they're much better negotiators than I am. They've been doing it their whole life, and usually they beat the crap out of us. It takes forever, right? Some salespeople don't even like that. Don't like to help them because they're tough negotiators. Not for any kind of like prejudicial or racial thing. It's just you're gonna spend hours with them. They're gonna beat the shit out of you, and they're gonna win. They're better negotiators if they grew up in that country, in that environment, right, where they negotiated everything from the time they were born. So,
yeah.
So most people here are not good negotiators. So the best thing to do is just get an idea what the market is, see what the market is on a vehicle, check out what a couple of other options are, and just take it easy. Take the easy one. Don't go. People drive hundreds of miles to save $100, and they spend more in gas. Driving somewhere to save money than they would just buying it local.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't get me wrong. If you want to save $100, drive all the way to North Carolina, I'm happy to help you. But most of the time, it's not worth it.
So right now we're going to stay at the level of you being cross-checker.
Cross-checker.
Or I'm sorry, you know what? Cross-checker is a baseball term. The closer.
Okay. All right.
Any fun stories that are relatable and can be told? You see, use a proper sense of discernment.
Probably. I mean, I guess like there was when we had the Odyssey first came out, the Honda Odyssey in like '99 it had been out before, but it wasn't built by Honda. It was built by Isuzu. So the actual Honda Odyssey minivan came out in '99 or 2000. I was at a Honda store, and people were like, they were paying $3,000 over sticker. Before they even saw the car, they would write us checks for $3,000 over sticker. As soon as we had a VIN number, the car's 2 months out, and they'd write us, $30,000 checks. People had to have these things. They started to cool down a little bit, but they were still hot. We started to get them on the lot, and I'll never forget. I had this couple, whole family, and the wife. She had to have an Odyssey. She wanted this Odyssey so bad, but the husband was it was killing him. We were $2,000 over sticker, and you have to take something off. He kept telling me. I was opposed. I said, no, when we're not. It's $2,000 over sticker. And if you don't want to take it, that's fine. There's people over here who are waiting for you to say no. Okay. He goes, well, and his big thing was the Toyota. They'll sell for invoice. They'll give me everything. I said, but that's still more. That's still more than you'll pay for this car. And he just was pissed. So he said, that's it. We're gonna have a family meeting. So he got the whole family together. They had this big huddle, the kids, the wife, and they came out with like the steel resolve. And he goes, that's it. You either give us $500 off, sell to us for $1,500 over sticker, okay, or we're going to get to Toyota. And I said, well, okay, all right, well, I'm going to then. That's fine. It was nice to see you guys. I'm going to go see these other people because they're going to pay it. And the wife stops him, and she goes, we'll still be married. She goes, honey, we'll still be married tomorrow if I don't get this Odyssey, but I want this Odyssey, and we need to buy it now. We're not getting a Toyota. And just the way I mean, the resolve, and the guy just was crapped out. It was just, I can't. It's hard to explain it how much, but she was not leaving there without that Honda van. And he paid the money, and he just was pissed off the whole time. But that goes back to the markets. That's what they were going for. Actually, $2,000 over sticker at the time, we were probably selling them less expensive than a lot of other dealers, and we had one.
And you knew you were going to get rid of it, like whether or not it was that day or the next day.
I wasn't full of shit. There were people waiting for him to say no. He got there first, so he had the first opportunity. They were waiting. They were standing there staring at him the whole time. I mean, it was like, and we wouldn't. I never. I guess there's some guys who do a bidding war. We didn't do a bidding war. We didn't quite. I guess we could have, but that was our price. It was $2,000 over sticker, and if you wanted, now though, I don't. There's guys right now, especially the market right now. People are charging like $5-10 over sticker.
What?
I just don't do that now. Yeah, there's on certain cars. Yeah, these Chevy Tahoes. I mean, I got the sales manager guy here working for me now. He was here when I got here. I'm just selling him for a sticker. I don't want to mark him up over sticker. And he's not happy with me about that. But here at this point, I just need to move all the new cars I can, get rid of them so I can get more. This store historically has not sold many cars, so I've got to build a track record. But yeah, they're selling them over sticker, $5-10 over sticker all over the country right now. All over the country, there's tons of dealers doing it, and they're getting it. People are paying it. So,
do you have any grasp on like the big picture macroeconomics as far as why that is the case? I mean, with that, and we don't have to turn this into a political.
Supply and demand. Yeah, without getting political, supply and demand. There's just not cars right now. There aren't any cars. People have money for whatever reason. People have money right now, and they want to spend it. People have more money available to them right now than a long time, and they want to spend it.
So if you go and try and rent a car in Hawaii, people are paying like $4 or $5 a week right now. At least they were a month or three ago. Because I heard that the rental car companies were selling all their cars because the market on their cars has risen. And is it just that the average number of cars per family in the United States has gone up since the beginning of COVID? I mean, I don't get where are all the cars?
Well, they're not building new ones, right? And so they're not really building as many new ones as they normally do. So you always lose cars. Cars get totaled, cars start to become obsolete, they break down, get replaced, and it's the whole chain, right? A lot of people only buy new cars, a lot of people only buy used cars, but still there's life cycles to the cars. I wouldn't say that there's a lot more people buying cars, but a lot more people are willing to spend money right now and buy new cars. They want to, and there aren't any available. There just aren't. There's guys who are used to carrying 300-400 cars on the ground right now maybe have 50. And that's hard too when you're trying to make a living, right? If you're trying to sell cars and make a living as a dealership, that's why these guys are putting $5-10 over stick on it, because they need to make as much money on the cars as they can. The used car market is insane, and that's probably, I can't buy a rental car right now. The only thing I can get out of, I usually buy a lot of cars out of Enterprise, and they're here too, but I can only buy like their long-term leases, or 100,000-mile cars, kind of rough. Their usual stuff, the 30-35,000 miles, they don't have them to sell. So I don't know if they sold out to them. I think they didn't buy a lot during the beginning of COVID. And then when they wanted to buy some, the factory wouldn't give them as much. But a lot of those logistics, I don't really know. I just know they don't have cars. They don't have cars to sell me. Used car market is insane. I'm paying as much for some used cars as I'm paying. The market on some used cars, wholesale market, is more than the MSRP was new on some of them. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's insane. And it's terrifying, right? Because that's a lot of money. That's cash you put out a lot. You go out and buy a $50,000 used car that's stickered for $55,000 a year ago, and you're paying $50,000 for it. So you got to sell it for sticker. You get stuck with one of those things, you get hurt. You got to carry like 50, 60 of them. But they're selling. People buy them. They come and pay.
Have the plants ramped back up their production yet? And is this just a lag?
They can't. It's a chip shortage. They can't produce them, right?
Wait, hang on. What chip shortage? What type of chips? What are you talking about?
You haven't heard about this?
Dude, I fly planes and I interview people.
The microchips. I don't know the exact details of it, but there's so when COVID first happened, the supply chain for cars, when they build a car, it's a couple of years out. So they plan on building a car 2 years from now, right? And they're putting everything in place and doing everything. So it's 2 years from now, they're building and planning and working up all the logistics and everything it takes to get all the parts and put everything together, get parts from everywhere all over the world. So they have these microchips, which they run a lot of stuff in a car, right? Your onboard computers, your navigation systems, all kinds of stuff. Your suspension. There's tiny little microchips that run it all, right? There's lots of them. They stopped ordering, and then they canceled their orders, right? So they canceled their orders, and the supply, because they didn't think, who knew? February, March of 2020, where did you think we'd be here? I thought it was going to be the end of the world. You didn't know what was going to happen, right? So you get out of that, right? You get out of that, and then May 2020, we start selling more cars. Everyone starts selling more cars than ever did, and everyone's been breaking records since then, selling cars up until there were no cars left. So everyone started selling more cars than they've ever sold before. They had a pipeline shortage coming a year away, and they kept warning us, hey, there's going to be a problem. We can't build them. So like there's F-150s. I don't know about Chevy as much. I know they've rented out huge giant places full of F-150s that they just need the microchips to finish building them. They're built. They can't sell them because they won't work.
Okay, so I just want it for my edification. It's not that microchips don't exist, or it's not like we're running into some rare earth mineral shortage. It's that the auto manufacturers projected wrong, and Intel and whoever else is making chips has them committed to certain other obligations, and so now there's that they wouldn't pay the up. They wanted to charge them more for them, as part of my understanding is then the chip manufacturers wanted to pay more. And the other thing to remember is there's demand for everything, and automobiles are like the smallest part of the chip manufacturing business, right? I think they're 5%, maybe 10% of the chips manufacturing business.
right? Either in their phones or everything has these chips in them now, right?
Yeah.
The smallest part is automobile manufacturing is one of their smallest customers. So it's like, yeah, you blew us off, and then you wouldn't. I would imagine it's how chip companies. Yeah, you blew us off, canceled your orders. Now you don't want to pay more to get them, so you can wait while we go to our customers over here with all these phones and these video games and everything else, who paid us good money, who never shorted us, you know. And so you get this crisis, you know. Price.
Is this crisis good or bad for car dealerships in general?
Well, now it's getting to the point where it might be bad, because now you don't have cars to sell. It's been good. It's been good because the supply and demand is crazy. And you have to, and the other part that's scary about it is like, you have to be willing to put a lot of money in used cars. Used cars are expensive, and used cars are like milk, right? And I compare a used car to milk. It's like taking a gallon of milk. You just bought it from the store and put it out in the lot in the sun. You need to sell it before it goes bad, right? It's going to spoil. It's out there the longer it sits out there, the more money you lose, right? So,
why?
You have to turn it fast. What's that?
Why? I mean, are you talking over the scale of like months, years, or weeks? Like what do you mean?
Weeks, really. I mean, really, I try not to have anything, which I don't accomplish, but I try not to have any car over 45 days old from the time I bought it, 45 days, because and it's proven over and over again that as the car gets older, you lose money, you make less and less money. You can't turn it, right? That money's because it's cash. I mean, there's floor plan for them now, you can finance them, but really used cars generally are cash. That's actual cash money sitting out there. It's not you're not like a new car, the factory gives it to you and you get a loan for it. And used cars generally are cash. So they're sitting out there, they're going down in value every day. A new book comes out every week, or the market changes every week. So that stuff gets scary. You know, you get lot damage on it. Your salespeople start walking around it because they don't want to sell. They think it's a bad luck or something stupid like that, which, believe it or not, that controls more salespeople's lives than anything else. Is that car's bad luck? I don't want to sell that car. And well, I mean, I'm that way. I'm psycho about it. I'm crazy about it. So stupid. It's one of those things where it's stupid, but you still do it anyway. Like I actually get anxiety and panic attacks if I see pennies in a dealership, because they're bad luck. We're not going to sell cars if there's pennies in the dealership. So I take them and throw them all over the lot.
Wait. All right. Say more about that. Let's dive down that rabbit hole.
Pennies are bad luck. Pennies, if the car salesman, if he's up front, he's cheap enough to hold on to a penny. He's too cheap to be in a car salesman. He's just too cheap. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. So what you do is you throw them on a lot, and then it's the greatest thing in the world. You see this all the time. You see customers, like the really cheap Mucci customers, who are like fighting you for hours over like 30 cents. That's my favorite thing to watch him. I watch you if you throw a bunch of pennies on the lot and you watch some guy come up and pick one up and he goes, "Look, a penny for good luck." He's all excited. He found a penny on the lot, So that's good luck. Now you can buy a car from him. Right? So, pretty funny. The pennies. And I mean, how irrational, illogical is that I think pennies are going to stop someone from selling cars? But I get anxious over it. I get physically anxious. I can feel it. I get upset. And I'd like to say, that's why we didn't sell any cars today. That's why we only sold 2 cars today, because you had pennies in your desk. Get them out of here.
Listen, I don't respect anyone who doesn't have a little bit of superstition. Yeah,
I agree. Well, you got a lot. Most of these guys here have a lot. But anyway, I mean, that's the superstition stuff. That car won't sell. That car's, it's got red in it or something stupid. And so the cars start to age, and then you lose money. So you got to just turn them. So with this crisis, to get back to where it is, or this chip shortage, used cars being so expensive, I mean, you can just feel at some point the market's going to shift, and these cars are going to lose 10-20% of the value instantly. I mean, it just feels like it's coming. So you got to pay all this money for these cars. They're sitting out there. They're terrifying, right? There's some dealers who they're like, fuck it, I'm not going to do anything. They won't buy the cars. They won't pay the money for them. But I just bought this place. I need something to sell. So I'm going to go out and pay them. So I got to sell something. We can't sell nothing. I got to feed the machine. Service department's got to fix the cars. The detailer's got to clean the cars. Got to pay everybody. Technician's got to work on them. Salesman got to sell them. Finance guy's got to finance them. If you don't have a product coming through here, all those people don't have incomes, right? And you got to let them go. You're gonna, I'm responsible for all those guys' incomes, livelihoods. So I got to go out and take the risk, put this money in his cars, and try and sell them, and then hopefully make money. Hopefully don't lose, right? Which right now we're making money. So it's all right. But it gets scary as you got 40 of them on the lot, and all of a sudden, 1 week they're all worth 20% less, and you can't sell them. That's what's scary.
How long?
That's life in a big city. That's life in a big city. That's what you get if you want to, be a car salesman.
How long have you owned Carlson Chevrolet?
We just took over not even a month. I think it's 3 weeks tomorrow.
And
3 weeks.
I think I said it right. I think I advertised you on a previous podcast episode that you were the general manager for 3 different car dealerships. Was that accurate, or have you? How many car dealerships have you been GM for?
The general manager for 2.
Yeah, 2.
2 is
So,
I'm a general sales manager for a few more.
Okay, but the GM is the guy, and you report only to the owner when you're the GM, and you're in charge of, and everyone else at the car dealership is your employee, correct?
Correct.
Aside from maybe the owner's kid or something if he's working there.
Yeah, it's always kind of weird. He's technically your employee, but not really.
Okay, but so does the pressure feel different now owning your own dealership than being a GM?
No, I think it's the same. I was thinking it might be less, but it's not. It goes back to that. I think it goes back to like that imposter thing where I feel like I just, I've got to earn this. I got to earn this every day. I've got to come in and prove that I deserve this. And that this is right, that, that someone didn't make a huge mistake. And, so it feels like someone's going to wake up someday and say, holy crow, why did we give you all this? And just take it all back. Give us the keys to that dealership. You can't own a dealership. That's the irrational feelings that go through my head all the time. So that's the pressure. Since I've been a GM, you're responsible for everybody. You're in charge of them. But if I don't do my job right, they don't have a job. They don't have an income.
And are you owner / GM right now, or you got a GM working for you?
I got a GM working for me. He's a good friend of mine. Actually, I worked for him 25 years ago. He was my closer. He trained me on a few things, on a lot of things. Actually, he's been responsible. So he's in here. He came in. He's actually an owner too. He's got a small percentage. He came in a little bit, and we just did that really so that he would feel invested. It's different when you have your own money in something than when you don't, right?
Skin in the game.
Skin in the game. But I got to send him to school. There's a dealer academy in Kansas City he'll end up going to. And right now he's really just working the sales department and getting a feel for everything else. He hasn't run the back end before. And I have a friend of mine who's helping us. And hopefully, as we start to acquire more dealerships, he's going to be involved in acquiring more of those and actually ownership in that. And he's helping run the fixed departments, parts and service, which is great because that stuff's complicated back there. Hard and I don't know. I know the numbers and the financial part of it. I know we can read the financial statement and where they're supposed to be, but how they're supposed to get there. I need someone like TJ who knows knows what he's doing there. He's doing a great job. They're both doing a great job right now.
So, how long ago was it that you started having your first credible thoughts of, hey, I want to own my own car dealership someday?
It's about a year ago. Did I want to own my own car dealership all day? Since I've been, we used to joke and laugh and tell stories about it when we were salesmen, right? That we're going to have our own store, right? Everyone aspires to that from the beginning. But where I started to think it might actually, and I always thought it was unattainable, actually up until recently, especially, in San Diego, everything's expensive. Dealerships are expensive. You can't, it's ridiculous, right? You gotta go somewhere else where they're a little more affordable. So about a year ago, I saw a Mitsubishi store for sale, and it was, and the money they were asking for it was reasonable. Not reasonable, actually. Probably wasn't reasonable, but it was within reach, right? Mitsubishi stores are generally less expensive than everything else. They're definitely the D franchise if you're going to label franchises like that. So I started looking at that, realized it was possible. I talked to a guy who I used to work for. He gave me some advice, and he said, why would you get a Mitsubishi store? You can buy a domestic, a Chevy or a Ford in the Southeast for the same money. So he put me in touch with a broker, and we've been working on it since then. It got real serious last November. So
Why would he say that? Like, why would you buy a Mitsubishi? You can go domestic. Is he saying, is that a sense of national pride, or what is going to be more lucrative?
The domestic, the Chevrolet stores, the Chevrolet, Ford, that's more lucrative. It's, Mitsubishi, I mean, their own captive lender won't floor plan their cars. So they won't lend you the money to buy their cars because they feel like they're about ready to go bankrupt. Who knows? I mean, Japan's probably not going to let them go out of business, but they're on the verge of going out of business all the time. They struggle. They're not a top level manufacturer. It's going to be hard to make money, and no one's ever sure what's going to happen with the brand. Right. You've been hearing that forever, but I mean, there's other brands that have gone away, right, over the years. They come in and they go out. So, you put a bunch of money into something like that, and then the manufacturer goes away, and you're stuck being a used car dealer, and that's different. And most banks treat Mitsubishi dealers like independent used car dealers anyway, because that's really where they're making most of their money. There's some guy, up to a guy in Pennsylvania actually, who just kills it. He sells a ton of Mitsubishis. He's got like 3 or 4 stores, and he probably sells 300 or 400 Mitsubishis at least. And he makes a lot of money doing that, but that's hard.
Can I ask?
And it's not that hard matters. It's that it's just, you can put the same amount of work into a domestic and make more.
Are you in your car dealership right now?
Uh-huh.
This is Big John's office.
It's Big John's office. Big John at Carlson Chevrolet. Come see Big John at Carlson Chevrolet.
Are you living there right now?
No.
Okay.
No, I can though. I can. That's a bed that pulls down.
Really?
Yeah, it's a Murphy bed.
And,
but I have.
And you've got a weight room in the back. Have you set that up yet?
I haven't, but we're gonna. We're just trying to get things going. No, there's a gym up by that where I live.
How many hours a day are you working right now?
Every hour I'm awake, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much. Yesterday I did a 10-mile hike. I mean, here, North Carolina is beautiful, man. And they've got all kinds of like places like, I guess parks or whatever they are, with hikes. And there's a reservoir I hiked on last week. And so I've been doing a little bit of that. Yesterday I went up into the mountains and did about like a 10-mile hike.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm working.
Okay.
Buy
so
cars.
I guess I'm a little blown away that like you really didn't even start mapping out buying a car dealership till a year ago.
Yeah, I thought it was unattainable.
Okay, so life lessons for the kids who are listening to two middle-aged men talk about starting a car dealership. You've obviously saved some money or had cash free. Like, can you without giving me specific numbers, how do you get the money to buy a car dealership? Because I've heard speculative numbers in the past, and it's not cheap, and it's not something attainable by the ordinary man. So how do you do it?
Well, the first thing you do is you find one for sale in North Carolina or South Carolina, the Southeast, something rural. This is a rural dealership. This is the country here. So it's not as expensive. It's not like one of the, the Penske or one of those guys are going to buy a store, they'll pay $100 million. So yeah, that's not attainable for me at this point. So
yeah,
you find one less expensive, a small store, doesn't do well, doesn't make a lot of money. Fred Baker was here. He's a nice guy. He tell you himself, he just wasn't interested in making the changes it takes to do business how it needs to get done now, and he'd rather sell it. So because of its performance, it was inexpensive comparatively. You borrow part of the money. Like I bought the real estate, I borrowed the money for the real estate, so I got a commercial loan for that. But if you come in with enough money, dealerships are profitable. Banks know it, and if you put enough into it, they'll lend you the rest of it. And you just got to get the manufacturer to approve the whole deal, which that's a challenge. General Motors was a challenge.
So how much of your dealership is owned by you and your partners and versus the bank? I mean, are there any other outside investors that you had to bring in?
No, I own 95%. Ed owns 5%.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
Ed owns 7%. And then I have a mortgage on the land. I have a mortgage for part of the operating capital, what it took to pay for it.
I have a mortgage for the operating capital. Say more about that.
Well, it's a what is it, a 7A? It's an SBA loan where they'll combine an operating loan and real estate in a one big loan, which is, it's a good deal. And only SBA lenders will do it. Your regular conventional banks don't have those kind of loans. They'll give you a 5-year operating, if they approve you, they'll give you a 5-year operating loan and maybe a 25-year mortgage on a property. But this SBA, I think it's a 7A or is it 4, something like that. They combine it all into one, which is great. Payments much more affordable. You just got to go through. I mean, the SBA, those guys are brutal, man. They look at everything. They crawl up and inspect everything, and then they do it all over again, and then ask you to prove that you did it.
So how many years before now were you a general manager?
10, roughly.
10. Okay. So did getting that money, did you have to show like a track record of what you did at your previous dealerships?
Yeah. I submitted financial statements, experience. I mean, I've been to the dealer academy in Kansas City, all that stuff. I had to prove all that stuff to get the loan. You had to prove that and then show the business. I had to put together a business, I mean, that's probably pretty standard. Put together a business plan and where I saw the operating deficiencies and where I thought I could make the improvements. And it had to make sense. I mean, a couple of guys called and grilled the shit out of me about it, the underwriters. But I was able to answer all the questions. I mean, there was real operating deficiencies in this building, which already we've improved drastically on some of them.
Okay.
Just by the way we're doing it. So, you had to prove that what the opportunity was, why I thought it could make money. And then once I did that and proved it to the bank, then I had to prove it to the factory, and get them to approve me. So, but yeah, without experience as a GM, it would have never happened.
Okay. And so these underwriters, these are people familiar with the car business, and they want to make sure you got all your ducks in a row.
I wouldn't say they were familiar with the car business. They're familiar with business. And I had to present them a business plan and how I thought it was, I just had to make sense and answer all their questions. And not sound like an idiot, I guess, when I answered their questions,
And you personally on the hook for these loans?
Yeah.
So it's sink or swim.
It's all in, man. It's all in. It's all in. It's all in. Keeps it exciting. It's all in. It's all in. But but I have a great track record, so that they were able to do it. The factory was able to. I've always been like 250, 300% sales efficient. Basically means the factory says I should sell 100 cars and I sell 250. So I always destroy the factory's goals. I always outdo them by a lot. They take a look at your market and your demographics and who's there and who's buying cars and what they do, and I always crush that stuff. And we're already crushing it now. I mean, I'm already at 1,000% of my sales objective for the month.
Really?
Yeah, I'm already 10 times what I should be. Now, my goal was one car. My goal was to sell one new car. But it sounds better when I say I'm at 1,000%, right?
So you sold 10.
We've sold 10 new cars. I have 3 new cars on the ground. I'm not sure where I'm getting these cars, but we're selling them. But we sold a ton of used cars, right? So we're doing pretty good.
I was looking at the Carlson Chevrolet website, and I was trying to look for the drop down to how to buy a new Suburban, and it didn't seem like that was possible. Is that part of the supply issue?
Yeah, I don't have one. Yeah, we get Tahoes and they fly out of here.
Okay. So. But why not? So when can you get a Suburban?
I'm hoping. So I'm gonna get a couple bumps as part of being a new dealer. They give you some help. So I should get, from my understanding of it, I should get some extra units this month in a build, which will probably be a month or 2 out, and then I'll really get a large jump in my allocation in September. And hopefully then, like I got a Corvette allocation. Those are hard to get. I got a Corvette allocation last week, so that's probably about 2 or 3 months away. I'm building that. I've already got a guy from California trying to buy it from me right now. I haven't even put it together, and he wants to buy it.
Nice.
So there's some demand for those things. So it's just a matter of time, right, till production, and then probably third quarter next year, inventory will start to normalize. They'll be able to get through all this stuff. I think it's going to be a while.
Third quarter next year.
Yeah, 22, maybe halfway through next year, second quarter, third quarter. I would think before inventory starts to normalize, which is fine as long as we can keep enough on the lot to sell them. It's not terrible right now because we do. I mean, I'm not charging over sticker, but I'm not handing out discounts either. So, the cars are making money right now. People are willing to pay for them. So that's the market.
At what point would things have to get worse for you to like send some dude out into the wilderness looking to buy cheap cars off of people who aren't rolling into your car dealership? Like, could you sort of like,
we're doing that now. I'm doing that now. I got a guy, I'm paying these new guys I hired. I pay them to go on Facebook Marketplace. We have them call people on Facebook Marketplace or anywhere they can, and I pay them $300 to get a guy to come in and we buy his car. Right. So I got these kids here, and they're just going through all Facebook and Instagram looking for people they know or people that are out there trying to sell their cars. So we're out everywhere right now trying to buy cars anywhere I can for used cars anywhere.
okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that, because I think it's fun, because I love looking through Facebook Marketplace, and I'm like always looking at like RVs and campers, and I'll probably like never ever buy one, but I just want to get familiar with like what's a good deal. So these dudes know what a good deal is on a certain age car, and so they're just scouring Facebook Marketplace for the person who has set the price low, and they're like, hey man, come on.
Oh no, these kids have no idea. These kids are kids. Last week they were probably in high school. They have no idea. I'm just telling them, I say, look, just call all these people, tell them we want to buy your car, we're a dealership, can they bring it in? Right. And so I just have them calling everybody everywhere they find a car for sale. And people come in, and a lot of people will want the information over the phone now, which we did years ago. Wasn't too long ago, we wouldn't tell anybody over the phone. So, no, you have to come in. But now we tell stuff over the phone. So
Okay.
so we put on our cars and we tell them what it's worth. And I'll buy anything. It doesn't matter if it's total garbage. If I think I can sell it or I can wholesale it, sell it to somewhere else, I'll buy it from them. And generally we're easier, when it comes down to it, we're getting people who are frustrated, who are asking too much for their cars and haven't been able to sell them. And we're calling them and saying, hey, we'll just bet you a check on the spot.
Dude, who are these kids?
You're my new sales boy we hired.
Really?
Yeah.
You just hire new salespeople, and they come in and
we stick them on the phones. That's what you do with new people, is you stick them on the phones. And first of all, you make them write down 10 people they know, name and numbers. They want cars. You make them call their friends and family. You try and sell them cars. And then you stick them on the phones, call them one ads. They don't have a client base to deal with, right? If you've been doing this for a few years, been at the same stores for 3 or 4 years, you have customers who right? And you see them in the service department. If you're doing your job correctly as a good salesman. So you have a client base you're dealing with, people come back to you. But someone brand new who's never done this before, they don't have anything. So they got to find someone. It's easier to get and talk to someone who's trying to sell you their car. Sometimes you sell them a car too, then you don't just buy their car, but you get great deals that way. Or cars you can't find at the auctions or their rentals. You can find cars out in the street like that.
So you got these new kids that you've hired. You started a month ago. I know, because I talked to you had to let a couple people go, but how many people have you hired into the place since you've been working there?
I don't think I've let anybody go actually yet, but when is this going to be out?
You tell me, man. If I mean, I can cut this question completely too.
No, I don't mind. I mean, I'm gonna end up letting a few people go probably next week.
Okay, I'll post it after that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. So yeah, we'll end up letting a few people go. And right now, I think we haven't really let anybody go, and I think I've hired 5 salespeople, 2 technicians. I've got another technician coming. So it'll be 3 technicians. We've probably hired 8 or 10 people so far. I hired 2 assistants in the office. So maybe 10 to 12 people.
Okay.
Out here. So, to get going where we need to get going, I probably need to hire another 10 people. It's probably needs about 40 people in the store. But, I've got to get, money coming in. You can't just hire them without the money coming in. So we got to build up to it.
Do you have a social media specialist at your company? Like how do you handle that?
Like probably me. He's going to handle most of it myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you like that end of it?
Yeah, and I'll handle a lot of it by paying someone, an outside company, to handle it.
Okay.
Because it's not as easy as it used to be. Like 10 years ago, Facebook first came out, you could really leverage it. It was inexpensive and it was easy to get stuff out there. But now they want to make money, and if you don't pay them, you don't pay Facebook for the advertising or Instagram. It's just harder. And, it's just because you got someone here who's good on social media, like at their home, they're great on Facebook and Instagram. They're killers. It's really now it's you got to get on the ad program. What do they call it? Facebook ads or whatever it is. It's complicated. It's a pretty in-depth process.
What platform gives you the best bang for the buck?
Facebook.
Yeah.
Not even close. Facebook.
Really?
Yeah. Facebook kills it.
And is that because the older people with money are on Facebook? Or
that's because more people are on Facebook than will admit
it? Okay.
Yeah. And it's probably older people with money. I advertised on Snapchat for a while and got nothing out of that. Nothing.
What about YouTube?
YouTube's okay. YouTube and OTT, they call it, is really has replaced TV. So, you're doing 30-second video spots, or 15-second bumper spots, 6-second bumper spots. And people watch those before they watch your videos.
Oh, so you're doing it like in the local area. You can just tell YouTube like, hey, anyone within 50 miles of right here or whatever.
Yeah, you tell them exactly. Yeah, exactly. And what kind of content you want it on. You can restrict the content so you're not on something inappropriate, right?
Yeah.
And you put your ad, there's different types of ads you can do. So the videos are great. You just got to be cheesy, right? Like I love making cheesy homemade videos, like talking dogs and stuff like that in the videos, selling cars. So that stuff's fun. Make it easy, as stupid as possible. And that works. People like it. Some people get mad. They call and they go, "What's with those stupid talking dogs?" On it, they start screaming about it. But well, they're talking about your store at least,
Say more about stupid ads and talking dogs. I know you wanted Captain Scott for a while.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do it, Captain. No, you're gonna be. I gotta write the scripts, Captain Scott. We're gonna just have you as a cameo, maybe just standing in the background with a thumbs up. Captain Scott, it's good. We'll have a dog. I'll have a dog say, "Captain Scott approves the deal," something like that.
So, why does that cheese work?
People like it, man. I don't know, but it's the number one rule of all time. We always say cheese sells cars. The cheesier you are, the cheesier your ads are, the more people like it and they buy cars. People just like it.
I mean, if I think about it, just in the local area here where I live in PA, this cheesy guy that's like, "I want to see you at Brown Daub Kia." Yeah, and it's like, dude, if I ever wanted a Kia, I would definitely go to that guy just because of that cheesy jingle.
Yeah, some guys make these real professional, like super nice looking, like factory commercials, and it looks good. It looks nice. The cars are coming up and they're at the dealership, and come to Carlson Chevrolet, you're going to get a great deal. No one remembers that, right? No one's going to remember that. It's no different than anything else. But when you got a talking dog on your TV screaming at you to come buy a car, or something else stupid, we put one of my guys, we dressed him up as a flea. We called him the Pulga on our Spanish ads, and he was jumping off the building to save people money on cars and charge them 0% interest. That was pretty funny. That stuff was funny, but people remember that because it's just stupid. It's just stupid and cheesy, and they remember it. And that's what you want out of that stuff, right? It's not just a deal. You're trying to sell them you're trying to sell them the name. The name recognition is important in that stuff.
So, can you talk about anything Carlson Chevrolet is doing right now to establish itself as a member of the community?
I mean, we're doing a few things. I'm going to sponsor the middle school. It's got a soccer team. They're opening up a soccer team. I'm kind of surprised. What I wasn't expecting was the amount of Spanish speaking population there is here. It's a lot more than I thought or was told there would be here. It's almost like it's almost, I hate to say it, like it was almost like it was hidden, like you didn't see it. But there's a lot of them. It's good business. And so I got a guy coming to work, he was actually the guy who we dressed up in the flea costume, Mopolga, on our Spanish ads, and he's coming here. So we'll do we might even bring back La Pulga and bring him back, put him on the Spanish YouTube and
La Pulga?
La Pulga, the flea. So we'll get involved in that community. So I reached out to the middle school because we got a check from Chevrolet that we're gonna get to sports, and I wanted to help the middle school. It's $2,000, and we said, what else can we do to help? And they were really appreciative. They're nice people. They're excited, right? You got someone coming and trying to support them. And they said, we got 600 kids. The majority of them are Spanish speakers. And we're trying to we're going to have a soccer team for the first time ever. Right. Because they haven't had it here before. So I'm surprised by that. So we're going to buy them uniforms. We already got it. My buddy Alex, who's coming, Lapolga, who's already scouted out the soccer uniforms from Mexico that everybody likes, like Uma or something, some weird brand like that. He's going to get those. And so we're getting involved there. We're going to help out with sports, like that kind of stuff. The middle school, the high school. I mean, I'll get involved with the Rotary and stuff like that. But we're already making a difference. Where we're making a difference is we're doing business with the locals, which they didn't really do a lot of business with the locals here before. They only dealt with really good credit on really high-end stuff. And, this county is probably the poorest county in North Carolina. I think it is the poorest county in North Carolina. Okay. So you got to, to cater to that, you have to have less expensive cars. You have to be willing to work with tougher situations, which is hard business, right? Not everybody wants to deal with it, but I mean, it's good business. It's hard. It's hard work, right? But we're dealing with it. We've done deals before. We had a couple people tell us, we tried to buy cars here before, and no one would help us.
Really?
For whatever reason, yeah. A few more than a couple people, a few of the people we've dealt with. So we're just telling them, let everybody know we want to do business. We want to sell cars. I don't really care about anything other than selling you a car. If I can make it work. I mean, and it's not that and Fred did a really good job with what he did. He had super high-end, beautiful cars. He had like a $75,000 Raptor when I got here. He had 3 or 4 cars that were more than, maybe 4 or 5 cars that were more than $75,000. I mean, you're not selling that to the poorest county in North Carolina. You're selling that out of state, to Raleigh, Durham, to Charlotte, which is what he was going for, right? Okay. I'm not really going. I mean, I'd take that business, but having a $75,000 used car, was we were talking about earlier, it makes my stomach hurt. I could have like 6. I could have 6 2015 100,000 miles Silverados instead of one $75,000 Raptor, right? And I'm going to make the same money, right? I can make it 6 times at one time. You make about the same profit. So,
what percentage of cars that you're selling are you involved in the financing of?
At me, at this point, not many. Is the dealership?
No. Yeah, I mean the dealership in general.
The dealership, 99%.
Really?
I think we've had one cash deal. So far, since we've gotten here, I think we sold like 32 or 33 cars.
And you don't have anyone like doing their own financing through their credit union or anything like that?
We had one guy we tried to switch him. We always tried to convert that. He wouldn't let us convert him. We offered him a lower interest rate. He wanted to stick with his credit union. So one guy, one credit union check, one USAA check, and one real cash deal. So one wrote a check for a car.
Okay, so you sell a car through is it GMAC financing?
It's GMF, but we're only using GMF right now. We do have other lenders. I'm sending everything through GMF though. General Motors, GMAC went out of business.
Okay, so GMF, you sell a car, it's financed through GMF, and then let's say a year later, someone falls on hard times and now they're not paying on the car. Does that affect your kickback at all?
No. I mean, if they monitor your loss ratios, so the banks will monitor your loss ratios, and you got to be unacceptable. If all your customers start repoing, or you're losing, your portfolio of loans that you've put into their giving them business for starts to lose more money than everybody else, they'll start looking at you harder. They'll start requiring more stipulations. So it'll be harder to get loans. But that's tough. That's hard to do, especially for a new car franchise. Generally, if your loss ratio is high, like I would probably say ours is going to be on the higher end once we get going. It's because you're in a tougher market. You're in a poorer market. Those loss ratios seem to be higher. They just are. Yeah. So they look at you. They want the business though, right? They want the subprime business. Everybody wants a subprime business. All the banks want the subprime business because it pays them higher yields. They want it until it starts to, go bad, which it always does. It always does. So then they, they're just trying to manage it. The better banks can manage it. Not everyone can.
So, I mean, not to bitch about the system or rage against the machine here, but I've never understood, like, especially back when I had bad credit and wasn't making a lot of money, but it's like, dude, you're going to take someone who's poor and who's got bad credit and you're going to charge them the higher percentage rate. And I'm not talking about you personally. I'm just talking about the banking system in general.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's tough.
Like, it
I agree.
doesn't, you know,
Hey, I don't know the fix to that though either, because I mean, I had the same problems. I mean, I had really bad credit for a while there when I first started doing this, and I got out of the Marine Corps. It's hard to get anything. On the other end, you see it on this end, and you understand why they want the risk is high for those banks that do those kind of loans. Regular banks won't touch that business because it just doesn't pay. Statistics, unfortunately, they don't lie. There's a bank that I know, a couple of banks, they predict that 25% of their loans are going to go back. So they charge everyone enough interest so that they can lose 25% on the other side. So 75% of people get a second chance.
That's interesting. So I remember, I think it was back in, it was right when we started first talking to each other again. And I remember telling you I was nervous about trying to buy a new car because, my credit was still kind of suffering from my irresponsibility of my 20s. I was in my early 30s, and I think my credit then at this point was like a 660. And I was like nervous that totally sucked. And I remember calling you while you were on the job. I think you were a sales manager then or something. And I was like, dude, I'm worried, I want to go buy a car, but my credit's 660. Do you think it's going to be able to, and you were just like laughing, and you said to a coworker or a friend, like, dude, what, my buddy's worried he's not going to get a loan. His credit's 660, and you guys had a good laugh over it.
Yeah, we did. That's a high score. Especially, well, it depends on the market. The markets I've always been in, a high credit score. The average credit score in National City, Chula Vista, where I've been, is like 520, 550. But average scores are bad. But you got to look at you end up looking at the content of the credit, actually what's in there. And that really determines it more than anything else. But yeah, 660, that's a great score, man. I'm laughing. That still makes me laugh that you were worried about getting a loan.
Well, I mean, and now it's, it's doing better, but
yeah,
but I was worried about things back then,
Yeah.
And so what does disqualify someone from being able to buy a car from you?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. I mean, we joke about it sometimes. We say
like
more or less than 3 repos. Do you have three repos? If you have 3 repossessions, that might be something I can't get done. But if you got enough cash, if you come up with 3 or 4 grand down and you buy a $6,000-7,000 car, you could probably find a home for that loan. I mean, you're going to pay 30% interest, and in terms of a $6,000
or $7,000 car.
Yeah. So it's like 50-60% down.
Okay.
So
if you got 2 repos and you put 50% down, we can do a deal.
That's going to be, I can. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be hard. I'm not really that excited. Most dealerships are going to just throw someone out like that. They don't even put the work in to get that done.
Okay. So let's assume no repos. What's the lowest credit score you can have, roughly?
It's not, that gets to what's the content of the score. And you have auto history. You can do a 0 score. You can do a 480 score without repos. Yeah. I mean, it depends on what's causing that score to get down so low. So that's where a lot of people get caught on the score, but the score is important, but it's really the content of the credit. I mean, I've seen 700 scores with 2 pieces of credit who've never paid anybody for anything. They just have 700 scores because of the way the system's been manipulated. I've seen 520 scores who pay all their bills on time. Their credit's perfect, but they've closed out all their accounts. So the revolving available is 0. So the lender sees that as a risk, but I mean, they're not. So it really depends on the content.
All right. That's cool.
I wish there was more of a formula to it, but unfortunately there's not. It gets, people get caught up on it. Everyone's caught up on their credit score and what it is, but really it's more, you can manipulate the credit score if you know what you're doing, which helps for a lot of these banks that buy on computers, it's not too hard to make it higher if you know how to do it.
So if you're a young person worried about your credit score, what do you do to manipulate and make it higher?
You beg your parents to make you an authorized user on a credit card. Okay, if your parents have credit cards, you go find someone to let you be an authorized user. You don't even have to get the card, but they'll set you as an authorized user, and you get like 10 years of credit history for nothing. It shows up on your bureau. That shoots your score through the roof. Get a credit card, get an actual credit card, use it once or twice and pay it off and don't use it. And that's like, telling a 20-year-old I was 20 years old, I got a credit card and it was free money. And went and racked that stuff up and never paid it. But
Dude, my junior year of college, I got my first credit card ever.
Okay.
It had a $600 credit limit, and I maxed that thing out in less than a month, going to like Denny's and buying everybody's meals and just pure stupidity. Like I didn't have one thing to show for it, and I had $600 worth of debt, which at the time was a mountain.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I did. Well, you know what? From like the first year I had credit, I was real good about it. Paid it off every month. I still in the Marine Corps. And then all this, I don't know, something just triggered, and I just about a year later, and that's why I had good credit. So because I'd been paying everything, so I had a bunch of cards, just maxed that shit out, and it all went downhill from there. But I mean, the way to do it, just the easiest way to get good credit is pay your bills on time, right? That's the easiest way to get good credit. But the other thing is to have open balances that you don't use. Keep the revolving available high and get some history. The quickest cheat is to have someone put you as an authorized user on their card.
All right.
You get their credit.
Dude, so what's the plan of world domination for Carlson car dealerships? You want to be the next Penske?
No, I don't want to be that guy. Not at all. I want to have about 5 or 6 dealerships. Would be the goal. Have a nice little auto group that makes good money. And I got 5 or 6 people. Have a couple partners in the whole thing. And then at each store have a good person running it. That's the goal.
Do you see that being sort of similar geography to where you are now, or spread out like farther?
I wouldn't want it to be spread out further because that'd be harder to manage. So try area. Try and do it here, around here, as close as possible.
Right on.
Yeah.
And so it would be hey, I noticed looking at Google Maps, there's a GMC Buick right next door to you.
Mm-hmm. Bleecker, yeah.
Is that so you don't own that?
No. Well, Mr. Bleecker does.
How old's Mr. Bleecker?
He's old, but I think it's his kids, or he's got GMs in there who've been there for a while. Their family, somehow they're families, but I don't really know the whole story. But I don't think that store is going anywhere. There's a few stores I've heard around here that are for sale. But I gotta put a few financial statements together on this store. Which we'll do.
Does that mean a few years?
No, monthly financial statement. So maybe a year of a good solid year's worth of financial statements, monthly statements, good results with the factory, good CSI, good sales efficiencies, and they might even give you a store. When I know there's an open point. Ford has an open point not far away from here. I've got a great track record with Ford on the West Coast, and then if as an owner, if we do things good here, maybe something you go after. I don't know if it would happen, but getting the manufacturer to award you a point. You don't have to pay someone for it. That's a great way to go.
Hang on, wait. Say that. Clarify what you just said. What do you mean award you with a point? What does that mean?
So a point is a dealership, right? A point. So they're mapped out. They're PMAs. They call them primary market areas. These manufacturers kind of got a different name for it, but like you have this zip code and they map it all out. Okay. And there are some market areas that don't have a dealership. So they've mapped it out and they say this place, this part of the county or city or whatever state could support a dealership, but there's not one there. And no one has the rights to it. Right. So no one else has the rights to it. So when you get a point from the manufacturer, if you're approved, you have the rights to your primary market area.
Are there any unused market areas close to where you are?
Yeah, there are. So like I said, there's a Ford one not too far from here. So if you can talk the manufacturer into letting you build something on that place, and you're just building a facility, which they'll generally help you with, because they think a dealership can support there. They would like to have one in there, right? Ford or any manufacturer when there's open points, they'd like to fill them. So, but you got to. got to get out. This was a feat to get in here. So to be approved by GM was tough. They were tough. So I mean, I got it done, and I thought I would, but now we just have to put together financial statements.
So what do you think would be easier and better, to buy an existing Ford dealership or get appointed one like that and build
it? Would be easier to buy. It's easier to buy an existing dealership, I think, for me right now. But it's better if you can get one, if you can get a point,
Okay.
It's better. It's less money,
Dude,
you're not paying some.
Are you having a blast right now?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun. It is. It's a lot of stress, man, a lot of stress. But it's different when it's your actual money. I mean, I've been managing someone else's money for 10 years and a bank account. But now it's like, that's actually my money I'm managing. So it feels a little different.
So do you have, all right, let's talk like the interpersonal thing. You're the big boss. You're Big John. How much, I'm sure you have like a sense of collegiality and camaraderie with your GM, Ed. What about like, the boots on the ground, your employees, like, do you try to maintain in like a distance, or are you just Big John the teddy bear?
Big John the teddy bear. I talk shit with them all the time. That's what I do, go back there. I'm with everybody. I try and talk to everybody at least once a day, and you acknowledge everyone. I've worked for owners who keep their distance, and I've never kept my distance. So I mean, if you get big enough, I'd have to, but it wouldn't be by choice. As much as possible, I like going back there and talking shit to the mechanics about the cars they like, why they like Chevy suck, or some shit like that. But I love that shit. The detail guy's a crazy Panthers fan, so I've been talking shit to him every time I see him. We got a bet on the Jets Panthers game. I like talking to people and hanging out with them. So that's what we do.
That's cool.
It's kind of fun. I like going back and hang out with the technicians. I don't think they're not sure why I'm out there with them talking to them. I don't know if they always like it, but I go back there at least once a day and talk to them.
Well, I mean, I think just on some level, them knowing that you give a shit will go a long way. Yeah,
I mean, you just acknowledge everyone, right? Everyone's trying to make a living, no matter who they are, right? We're all here, we're all humans, so you just acknowledge them, treat them. I mean, I'm not better than anybody else, and I don't think anyone else is better than me. We're all here the same. So, I do think that makes a difference, because I have worked for people who do think, or been around people who do think that they're better than everybody else, and they don't want to talk to certain people. So, that's not good. I don't like it. I didn't like it. I don't like seeing it. I didn't like working for people so much like that. So, acknowledging people, there's a lot. Acknowledging anybody, no matter who they are, not even the people you work with or you're around, but just everybody you run into on the street, just acknowledging them and let them know, the easy thing is to ignore people, especially people, who really are not doing so well, but just acknowledging everyone. And I think that's important. It's really important.
That's cool, man.
That's cool. So I try and do that. Sometimes I'm better at it than others, but I always try and do it.
How often you ordering pizzas for the crew?
Oh, once a week so far. Pizzas and breakfasts and lunch on Saturday. I bought them. So I found a good, San Diego, you spoiled, man. The Mexican food there is just awesome, right? And I found good Mexican food here, actually. So I bought a bunch on Saturday, brought it in for the guys. A few of these guys looked at me like I was like, what is this shit? They had no idea what it was.
You feeding us Mexican food, boy? That sort of thing.
Yeah, it's not like, they were like quite like, but it wasn't quite like that. But they were like, "What is that?
Really?
What is that?" There were wet and they for some reason here, I guess it's more Tex-Mex. All the burritos are wet. When you order a burrito, they're all wet. They're all covered in sauce, right?
Really?
I'm used to the burrito. You eat them, grab them and eat them. So these big giant plates of burritos drenched in sauce. It's just a little different type of food for some of the guys around here. They're used to something else. So it's fun. all fun. It's interesting, man. It's different. It's different. But, I mean, it's a small store. They've been doing things the same way since like 1987. They haven't changed the way they do anything. So, and I do things differently to begin with. So, it's a bit of a shell shock.
What's different? Like, give me an example of a way in which you're kind of through.
I sell everyone a car. We'll give everyone numbers. We don't, we bring everyone, if someone wants numbers, we give them numbers. If someone wants to buy a car, we try and sell them a car no matter what. And I mean, that sounds like, yeah, no shit. But there's a lot of dealers who don't operate like that. I keep I got a 250,000 mile car, and the service department's like, you're going to keep that? I'm like, I sell everything. We're going to sell everything we get. We'll sell every car no matter what. And then there's a lot of stuff that a lot of dealers say they do, that everyone says they're supposed to do, like follow up and call the customers, but no one does it, right? But I mean, I'm maniacs out there. I track how many phone calls the guys make. I make them call every customer they've ever had every day. Call a customer till they buy or die. There's one of those dark humor things that people not in the car business don't like, but we call people until they you keep calling, leave messages until they finally call back and say stop. But if they're not going to, until they tell you to stop, you keep going. Maybe they'll answer. Sometimes you sell them a car, but it's better than sitting there. When I was watching some of the guys with it, and they were just sitting around like hanging out. No, man, we're going to call people. And if we don't have someone to call, I'm going to give you the white pages. You start calling people out of the phone book and just start with the A's. Mr. car. Here's, so that's follow up stuff like that. And that just generates business. So they're just not used to doing it that way. Bad credit, they're not used to dealing with bad credit at all. I mean, bad credits, they wouldn't deal with it. I'm going to sell them cars. We're going to sell cars. I don't care. We're going to sell someone a car. So I'm not here to sell credit. I'm not here to sell financing for loans for the banks. We're trying to sell cars. So if I can find a way to get you a loan, I'm going to get you a loan, and we're going to sell you a car. I don't really care. If you got 3 repos, I don't care if I can get you a loan. No skin off my back. You just, if I can get the bank to buy it, it's all theirs.
Dude, I am loving this right now. Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't seem that interesting to me. I think it's going to be kind of boring, but whatever.
You know what, dude? It might bore the shit out of a lot of people, but there's going to be at least, a small subset that are going to think that it's as interesting as I think it is. And that's
cool.
So, for me, the getting over the imposter syndrome of this is like,
right.
Dude, at first I was a little reticent to talk about Joe Rogan. There are certain guests that Joe Rogan has on that I love listening to, and I'll listen to Joe Rogan and this guy talk for 3 hours. It's interesting to me. He has somebody on talking about mixed martial arts, and I don't even listen to the episode because I could give a crap. But, dude, there are people out there that are going to be intrigued to be like, man, I've always thought about like being a car salesman. What would it take to run my own, car dealership? And there's going to be someone who's probably intrigued by listening to this conversation, or like they have no desire to ever run a car dealership, but they're going to like hearing about it just because it's amusing, and they'd rather do this than listen to, talk on CNN or Fox News trying to like stir each other up with political opinions. And in fact, you and I have talked a lot of politics in the past, and we're not going to open that up here, but that was actually part of the creative inspiration for this podcast. Is I'm so tired of having useless political opinions about bullshit that's out of my control and reach. And like, dude, if there's like one kid who listens to this podcast, who goes and starts kicking ass on a sales floor of a car dealership, and one day, 20 years from now, owns his own car dealership, and was somehow this acted as some type of inspiration, that would mean more to me than any political opinion I've ever spouted on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. Like, because honestly, that doesn't,
That's cool. You're right. I agree. It's definitely more fruitful than any of those political arguments we've ever had, which aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, and we actually probably agree more than than most people on a fair amount of things. And you've changed.
Yeah.
You're one of the few people who's actually, changed my mind on a couple of issues, or you may not have thought you were moving me at the time, but probably has. But, really that doesn't matter, dude.
Right.
I mean, and I'm not saying politics don't matter in general, but like, honestly, the amount of time we spend on, we as a collective population spend having all these political opinions, like, dude,
Not worth it.
it's just, it's bullshit. We've got malware in our heads that like trips some type of meaning circuit, right? Like, oh, I'm doing something meaningful because I'm forming my opinion on why Ben Shapiro is right, or, Chris Cuomo on CNN is right. When really it's just, it's a,
Bullshit.
yeah.
It's mostly bullshit.
But like, dude,
Just getting you fired up. It's rhetoric. It's all rhetoric, right?
And what I think is insanely meaningful is like, you struggled when you were in your teens. You struggled with not having a sense of feeling like you were taking life in the serious way with which the other people who were going to go far in life were taking it, right? And but now, through the course of what you've done since you were, basically 18, dude, like, you've provided for your family, you're helping people get cars. I mean, to sound corny, right? But what I'm hearing you say, like, dude, you're selling to people who previously would have been laughed out of the dealership before you arrived.
Laughed out of it.
You're, providing meaningful and gainful employment and hiring more people because you've got your shit together. And I just think, like, dude, the world, my inspiration for this podcast is to, I mean, really, it's just, there is that theme. I'm doing my interest, but my interest in interviewing you and people like you is like, people get their shit together, they do something well, and it makes the world a better place. And that might sound corny, but dude, that's the way I see it. And that's what I'm trying to do here.
That's cool, man. I've liked your podcast so far, man. I'm enjoying it. So, I mean, it's, you're right. It's interesting. I like what you have to, I like how you said it about Joe Rogan, how there's some stuff that piques your interest and you want to listen to, and some stuff, there's one subject, wasn't as interesting as others, but, man, I think it's awesome that you're out here getting this done, because this is cool, man. I think what I see, I mean, you're good at this, man. You've always been good at having conversation with, talking shit to. And sometimes I might want to argue with you just because I like to argue, and you can argue back,
Yeah,
just,
and it's fun.
Start arguing for fun. Yeah, it's kind of fun. But this seems, this is more productive than that. That's just more like talking shit.
Well, that's just it. It's like, look, I'm a gregarious guy, and I've got a lot of opinions about things, and I just needed a productive way for me to focus my energy. And like I said, I used to say, if 3 years from now I only have 37 listeners, but they're interested and enjoying what I have, and I'm enjoying making it, that'll be worth it. And I already have more than that. 6 months ago, like after I made the first one of these and put it out there, the loud voices of the imagined critics in my head were huge and horrible. And now it's just like, just able to embrace the fun part. I'm enjoying this,
That's cool, man. That's cool. That's pretty awesome. It's good. It's great. And, I feel like I'm doing it. It seems like you're doing it when you go out and you're, and I hate to sound cheesy because it sounds cheesy, but you're going after your dreams and you're getting them. You know what I mean? You're going after what you want to do, and it's happening. And that's just awesome. It's awesome to see it happen.
And hey, if I could ever significantly monetize this, that would obviously be great. I mean, or turn it into some own, self-sustainable, but right now I'm pretty fortunate that I've got a job that allows me the flexibility to still live a pretty good life and do this as my, second job / hobby /
Hobby.
you know.
I say this to people sometimes, and I say that they're gonna think it's incredible. They're gonna think I'm just talking shit, just to say it. But I mean, the car business it does well, right? I mean, I'm doing better than I ever thought I could. But that's not the important part, and that's not what drives me. What drives me is I want to be the absolute best at what I'm doing, because I feel like it's like fake, and like I said, it's impossible. I didn't earn it, so I've got to go out and prove every day that I'm the best. We're going to do the best job. We're going to give the whatever it takes. And if I did the best job and it paid me minimum wage, then I want to make the most minimum wage I possibly can. And I want to be the best guy making minimum wage doing it. If it pays me $10 million a month, which it doesn't pay, I mean, I wish, but that was the best job, then that's what I want to hit. But I want to hit whatever the top level is. I want to hit whatever the top level is. And it's not, because it's not so much, it's not really the money. I mean, there's money involved, right? It's my career and what I want to do and how I want to make money. But to get there, it can't be about the money. It's got to be about trying to just dominate it, to be the best at it, to do the best job possible that I can do. And that's my, and I say this to the guys all the time, and it's some motivational speaker says this, but that's my duty, my obligation, and the requirement is to do the absolute best I can. It's my duty and obligation to the people who work for me that I do the best job I possibly can, so that they can make a living, so that there's a job there for them. Because if I do a shitty job and I don't get things done the way they're supposed to get done, then I'm only going to have half the jobs, and the people here aren't going to make shit. You know what I mean? So this is the opportunity for them to get the same opportunity I had when I went to work for a guy who worked his ass off. To get the same opportunity I had to move up and to make a better income and to do more with my life than I ever thought I could, at least income wise. So that's what, like you said, it doesn't really matter, money, right? I mean, it's great. You're fortunate that you can do this, but you're doing this because you enjoy it. And because you want, I think, well, at least for me, I want to do the best I can at this. I want to, if my best version of this is just mediocre, well, then that's my best version, right? But so far, killing it. I mean, well, I've been really successful, so just keep pushing it. That's kind of how I see it. I don't know.
That's awesome.